Hello, boys and girls. I just want to do a quick lesson here on the concept of telling time on an analog clock. Now, this is an analog clock. You're probably used to telling time on a digital clock. This is an analog clock. It's a lot harder to tell time on this clock. Now, you may be wondering, why does Mrs. Siebesma have this paper that looks like a ruler? The reason I do is because I want you to understand telling time as measurement. Okay, when you're measuring time, you're not measuring how long an object is, like we've learned how to do by lining up the ruler next to the object and counting how many inches or centimeters. You're actually measuring time. Think of time as a length of time. Could be seconds, could be minutes, could be hours, could be days, weeks, months, years. You're measuring how long something takes, how many moments it takes. You're measuring time. So if you look at this ruler, it's in a straight line. Now, it's going all the way up to 12, just like the clock starts here at 1 and goes all the way up to 12. This is measuring 12 hours. Now, there's more than 12 hours in a day. How many hours are in a day? You should know there's 24 hours in a day. So when you're using a clock, you would be going around the clock 2 times in one entire day. Okay, so 24 hours. Now, if I took this ruler, which is going up to 12, and I moved it into a circle and put it together, okay, you can see, kind of hard to see here like this, but that you could think of it as going around the clock is measuring a length. It's measuring a length of time. It just happens to be in a circle instead of a straight line. Okay, now what you need to know about telling time with the clock, hold on. I'm sure there are many videos on YouTube that do catchy songs. I even put one in Google Classroom for you that are very helpful. So you can watch those too, but I just want to show you kind of how I teach kids how to tell time on the analog clock. Okay, first thing you want to know is that when you're writing it digitally, you're writing the hour and you're writing the minutes. Now, when you look at the word hour, that's kind of a short word. It only has 4 letters. When you're looking at the word minutes, it's much longer. That has 7 letters. And that helps me remember that the shorthand on the clock is telling me the hour, and the longhand on the clock is telling me the minutes. Okay, so when you're looking at the time, you're always going to put the hour first and then the minutes. So when I want to tell what time it is, I know, okay, I'm going to look at the hour first. That's the shorthand. And since that's pointing to the 2, I will put 2 in my hour spot. Now, today we're just going to be looking at o'clock and 30 minutes past, or a half hour past. Okay, so when the blue hand, that's the minute hand, is straight up, even though it's on that 12, okay, the blue hand, the minute hand, is not looking at the big numbers. Okay, it's actually looking at, and you can't see them up unless I put it up close, the little tiny number right there. Okay, so you can see 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. Now, we don't say it's 260. When that big hand is pointing straight up, I bet you already know what that means. That means that no minutes have passed the hour. So we say it is 2 o'clock. And we just put 2 zeros because no minutes have passed the hour. Now, another trick that I tell kids to help them remember the shorthand and the longhand is to think of the shorthand as like a little baby who can't count by 5s. The little baby can only say the number that it's pointing to. So that's why when you look at the shorthand, you just say 2, like a little baby can say 2. Okay, but when you look at the longhand, you can count by 5s, because think of the longhand as being a big kid who knows how to count by 5s like you. Okay, so anytime the clock is just the blue hand or the long hand is pointing straight up, it's o'clock. Now, when that hand moves to the 6, okay, I want you to think of the clock as a big circle, and if you cut it in half, Okay, it's kind of a straight line down the middle. That means a half hour has passed. Okay, and there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So if we go back to our counting by fives, okay, we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 30 minutes have passed. So instead of saying it's 2 o'clock, I would say it is 2:30. Or sometimes people say half past. By the way, if you want a good joke, if you tell somebody what time is your dentist appointment, you say 2:30. Get it? Your tooth hurts, so it's 2:30. Ha ha ha. Jake likes that one. Anyway, and then as the minute hand moves on and it gets back straight up at the 12, now notice that the little hand has moved also. So now we're on the new hour, which is 3 o'clock. Now we're going to do a lesson on telling time to 5 minutes also. And I've also put these lessons on Zearn and on MobyMax. So hopefully you've looked at those and done those because those will be very helpful. Okay, so now we're at 3 o'clock. So I look at the little hand first. That's like a little baby who can only say a number. And that goes in the first spot, and that's the 3. And then the long hand is the big kid who can count by fives, but when it's straight up, it's just o'clock, 0, 0. Okay, now as it's moving, and I'm holding my phone so I can't move it very well here, but we move along around the clock and we're measuring the time in the hour. We're measuring how many minutes. There's 60 minutes in the hour. So 5, and as it moves along, 10 minutes have passed, 15, 20, 25, 30. Once it's down there on the 6, 30 minutes have passed. So it is now 3:30 or 30 minutes past 3. Half past 3, 30 minutes after 3. Okay, it's the minutes after the hour. So we're on 30, and as that clock keeps ticking, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60 minutes have passed. That means we're on the new hour. So I don't say it's 3:60. Now it's straight up again. It's on the new hour and the shorthand's on the 4. So it is 4 o'clock. Okay, and then we would just keep going around the clock like that. And we will learn how to tell time all around the clock, but today we're just looking at how to tell time when it is straight up, which is o'clock, or when the minute hand's pointing on the 6, which is 30 minutes past. Okay, so I'm going to give you some ones to practice in just a second. Okay, so here's a new one for you. What time do you think is on the clock now? First, you look at the shorthand. That's the red one. That's the little baby. Can only say its name. So that's 9. Then we look at the minute hand, and the minute hand is pointing straight down, and that means you're going to count by fives. This is o'clock. If it was pointing straight up, it would be o'clock. So we count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Remember that straight down is 30 minutes past, or a half hour past. So it is 9:30. Let's try another. All right, take a guess. What time do you think is on the clock now? You can't see the numbers very well. Shorthand is on the 10. Longhand or minute hand is straight up. So if you guessed 10 o'clock, you are correct. All right, here's another one. Now this one's a little tricky. If you look at the shorthand first, that's the red one, that's the hour. I see it's right in between the 1 and the 2. So what do you do when it's right in between? Well, here's what I want you to think about. It's not to the 2 yet. It's not 2 o'clock yet. And as the arrows go around this way, which we call clockwise, goes around this way, you know that as the minute hand keeps moving, the hour hand will move also, and it will be 2 o'clock, but it's not 2 o'clock yet. So whenever the shorthand is in between 2 numbers, you always go back to the one that it passed. Okay, so it is 1 for the hour, and the long hand's down on the 6, and we already learned that that means it is 1:30. And another way to say that is half past 1, which you can see the hour hand is halfway past the 1. So that's why people say it's half past 1 or 1:30. Let's do one more. Okay, got a hard one here for you. Actually, let me erase this first. It's not hard, but the shorthand and the longhand, or the hour hand and the minute hand, are both pointing straight up. Okay, so that means what's behind that hand there, that arrow, is the 12. Okay, so the hour is pointing to the 12. And then the minute hand is straight up, and that means no minutes have passed. So we put 0 minutes have passed, and we say it is 12 o'clock. All right, so I want you to do your Freckle lessons on this and MobyMax lessons on this that I've posted. And next week we'll do some more where you will learn quarter past, which is 15 minutes past. Then we just learned 30 and then 45 minutes past. And eventually you'll be able to tell time on any clock. And it's a hard skill. I always tell my students that I don't think I really knew how to tell time on an analog clock till about the 4th grade. Okay, but you need to start learning about it so you have an idea, and the more you work on something, the easier it becomes. So practice, 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 and you will get it.